On May 8, 2009, 29-year-old Amir Devaughn was shot twice in the head while driving down East 120th Street near Princeton Avenue. Here's the tragic story.
My son Amir is the only son that I had, and he was a very quiet, meek young man from the time he was born. We called him Bubba. When I was in the military and had him, we named him Bubba because that was basically a nickname for everybody in Key West, Florida.
I can remember when they moved to Florida and they came back up from Florida. That's some of my earliest memories of him and his sisters and stuff when we was younger. He was a pretty quiet guy, little guy. He was real quiet and he was real smart. Liked to throw around a little football and baseball with me and my brother and him.
And he was just a good passive kid. The fact of the matter, I really never had to chasing him, as far as spanking him, because he always listened. I just tried to distill in him from the time he was little his faith in God. He took to that because he was the most spiritual child that I had. Out of all my 3 children, I have 3 children. One daughter older than him, and 1 daughter under him. He was the middle child. He grew up to be a good man. He was very intelligent. He was very articulate.
Once he was in his teens, we spent a lot of time together. Still was a real smart guy, real quiet still.
He liked poetry. He was very gifted at writing. And he liked to collect antiques and build his cars, and kind of, to me, had an engineering mind. He has 2 daughters. The youngest daughter, she just really took to him. It's amazing because she's 3 now, and she's well-spoken. I mean, her command in English language at that age just astonishes me. Bubba was like that. That was his personality. That's what type of guy he was, And as time went on, started hanging out with the wrong element. Me, I was a roof contractor. I'm constantly gone all the time. I was there, but I basically wasn't there, spending a lot of time with him as far as throwing the baseball and things like that. I missed out on a lot of his childhood by not being there. I was physically there, but I'm not there trying to keep a roof over their heads. Coming home tired and exhausted and just not spending time with my son. If I look back now, I kind of regret those things. So I would tell any parent, spend time with your kids. But I know my son loved me, and I loved him dearly, and I know he knew that I loved him dearly.
Cleveland 911.
Yeah, I just heard gunshots right on the corner of 120th and Princeton, and there's a car that's right now just in the middle of the street, and there was 2 guys that got out of it, and they headed west on Princeton. And I'm looking down the street now, and I don't know.
The guys jumped out of the vehicle, or the vehicle?
I don't know if there's still someone in the vehicle that they shot, but the car is like in the middle of the street right now.
You got any closing description on the 2 guys that ran eastbound on Princeton?
They went westbound on Princeton. I don't have a description, no.
All right, we'll notify EMS, okay?
All right, okay,
thank you. Bye.
On Friday, May 8, 2009, at approximately 4:05 p.m., my victim, Amir Devaughn, was in his vehicle at the location of East 120th and Princeton. According to the witnesses, Amir was driving with 2 other males in the vehicle, one in the passenger seat, one in the back seat. As he got to 120th Street, shots were heard. At that point, the male that was in the front seat of the vehicle was observed exiting the vehicle with a handgun in his hand. The male in the back seat was the one that was observed taking a bag and tucking under his arm. Both males were observed running westbound on Princeton Avenue. The victim's auto rolled through this intersection and ended up catty-corner on the south curb at 120th Street. Inside, the victim was slumped. He had 2 bullet wounds to the right side of his temple, 2 very close shots, which means that the individual had to have been in the front seat and reached around and shot him twice in the head. The male with the gun was observed putting in his back pocket behind a tree on Princeton Avenue. One of the males shouted, "Go through the cut," which means the shortcut. At that time, both males ran up a driveway approximately 7 houses down from the scene, southbound, and disappeared.
And I got a call from my daughter, and as soon as I answered the phone, she said, Bubba's dead. And from that point, I was basically in shock. I'm like, I can't believe, I'm in disbelief, but I'm trying to stay rational about the situation, explain to her, and I hear a lot of screaming and hollering in the background. I immediately jumped in my car and got on 90 and drove straight home, basically nonstop, because I was just in a state of shock. That's basically all I can say. I was surreal. In between 3:30, he came home, he seen his mother, he hugged his mother and told her he'd be back. But from the time he left his mother's house, our house, he was supposed to meet a friend. He was seen by two individuals on the corner who had waved to him. I guess they said he was going to come back. One guy's a barber to get his hair cut. And when I actually talked to this individual, I asked him, did it look like my son was under duress? Because he said he seen two other individuals in the car with my son, two young little guys, you know, which seemed kind of out of character for my son because he was 29 at the time. And, you know, he didn't associate with 16, 17, 18-year-old kids, but this is what these individuals look like. You know, 30 minutes later, my son was dead.
Shots rang out, and two males were observed jumping out of Mr. Devaughns' 2007 Kia. The victim's auto rolled through the intersection and came to rest on the opposite corner. EMS was called. When paramedics arrived, they observed two gunshot wounds to the victim's head, and he was apparently deceased at this time. Well, the witnesses said both males appeared to be young. One was approximately 5'11", and the other one was like 5'3". According to the family, Amir was a very cautious person. He wouldn't let anyone in his car that he didn't know. So the family believes that he knew the two gentlemen that shot him.
Right before Bubba passed, my brother passed, and the only people I hung with was him and my brother, so I don't do nothing no more. I stay in the house and just...
But I never stopped thinking about him, and you never stop crying. You cry till you can't cry anymore, you know. As a parent, you know, to lose your child before you leave is something I can't explain to the average individual, and you really can't understand what I'm saying unless you're there. And I really wouldn't wish this on anybody. That's the only son that I had. It's devastating. And I had to rely on God to carry me through this, and God will work through my fellow human beings to comfort me.
I think you should just do the right thing, because a human being's life was lost here, and just come forward and say something. You just remain anonymous, but just give some type of information that'll lead the police to solving this case.
If you have any kind of conscience, and you say you love your fellow human being, you would do the right thing and come forward. Because I lost my child, and it's going to happen again to some other family, and this is just needless and it's senseless.